Webinars. I asked you earlier today, how many of you want to use a webinar to promote something? Most of you said yes. All of you said you have attended a webinar of some sort. Sometimes we lose sight of the very fact that we do the very things that we're scared won't work. Like, webinars, I don't think it'll work for me. I don't think webinars work at all. Yet you've been on 18 of them. Hold on a second, right? Email marketing doesn't work. Never works. It's not going to work. And wait, how'd you get here? Email marketing, right? How'd you find out about a course? Because you went on a webinar. How'd you find out about the webinar? Email marketing, social media marketing. So these things work. Now, what I'm going to do, I put it up here on the screen. I'm going to walk you really quickly through the first 3 things, and then we're just going to brain dump the stuff we worked on this morning right into the 4th section of the webinar script. Now, why am I doing it this way? Because today we're too creatively spent to think on content. I don't want you to think about what the title of your webinar is going to be, what the outcomes are going to be. We'll worry about that tomorrow. Okay? But I want you to see the context so that you know where we're going. So when you start a webinar, there are a lot of, actually let me say this about webinars. As a professional communicator, I've spoken in front of audiences of thousands of people, performed music in front of thousands of people, been on video, all this sort of thing. The first time I did a webinar, I was terrified, and I was a professional communicator by that point. And I was still terrified. I was terrified that the technology was going to break down. I was scared that my internet was going to cut out, which it did. I was scared that I was going to ramble. I didn't know what to say because I could not depend on the typical things that a professional communicator depends on, including real people being in the room. It is a very strange sensation to do a presentation and have no one there. Not even a camera crew. Which means you have to bring 100% of the energy on a webinar. The same with a podcast. You have to bring 100% of the energy. So before, when I was joking, when I was shoot videos like this, wow, I'm so excited to be with you guys today. In a very charged atmosphere, I can get away with that. I can get away with just kind of being a little bit more low key because people are with each other. There's a lot of music pumping before the session started. There's a lot of some crazy MC. Sit down, sit down. Everyone's kind of energized, and I just go, hey, it's good to be with you too, because that's my personality. You'll hear Nick tomorrow. This dude's on cocaine all the time. Not legitimately, but I'm just kidding. But like he's just his energy. We woke up in the Airbnb today. I was like, good Lord. Outside 6 in the morning. I was like, he just got in at 2. How is he blasting this music? It's like a frat house all over again, right? So we all have different nuances and personality styles. So if you're a little bit more quiet and low-key like I am, you still have to provide 100% of the energy on that webinar. Nick is not going to have a problem bringing 200% of the energy. I'm going to struggle bringing 75% of it. So I've had to work at that so I could communicate through that medium. Same thing with a podcast. I felt like an idiot sitting at my desk talking into a microphone with nobody there except my dog. And yet you realize the more and more you do online marketing, that's what it's going to be like. And so the more and more you exercise this muscle of sharing Instagram or Facebook stories, doing these videos, you're going to start to notice a change in how you show up and how you smile, especially on the social media, because you can see yourself. I can't see myself on a webinar. So the people see my slides, right? And so when it comes to the content, let's say you're doing a webinar and people aren't seeing your face, they're reading slides. You know what happens if you use slides for the whole presentation and then when you start pitching something you don't have slides? Guess what's happening? You are taking away one of the sensory channels of your audience. Because now they're just staring at a screen, a blank screen. Your face isn't there, and they're just hearing words. Whereas before, they were seeing a screen with words that were changing every few seconds and hearing your voice. Now, you've frozen the screen, you're just talking. They're going to go get a coffee. They're going to miss your sales pitch. Then you're going to think, this is what you're going to think. Oh my gosh, Mike, this is terrifying. Now I'm going to have to design 82 slides just for the sales pitch part. And now you've compounded the work, and then you're going to say, I don't want to do a webinar. That's too much work. You see what I mean? Okay. So I know this. I've done hundreds of webinars, and so I know where the hangups are. So the script is to help you. And some sections of your webinar are going to have a lot of slides. Others are going to have very few, if any at all. The good news is your personal story slide is not going to require a lot of content, but it's going to come more through words, right? Tomorrow, when we cover the call to action part, you're going to need a lot of slides, and I'm going to give you all the slides. You're going to have to populate them with your own content, but I'm going to literally tell you this is where you talk about the price, this is where you put in the bonuses. You're going to get that both in Apple Keynote for all you Mac users, and I'll give it to you in PowerPoint as well for all the Microsoft Word users. Okay, Microsoft users. All right, so let's talk about the webinar here. This is typically, if I'm doing a webinar, I whip this thing out still till this day, and I just start brain dumping because frameworks help me move quicker. Okay, they help me move faster. And all the tools that we give you today and you get through this program, that's going to cover probably 80% of all the tools you'll ever need to do marketing as a solopreneur or a thought leader or a speaker, whatnot. Because for all you tool junkies, I want you to realize this. The simpler your tools, the more you're likely to use them. The simpler your tools, the more likely you're going to use them. Just use what's simple, right? So, title and introduction, that's just the section, okay? And here's what I'll say. Welcome to today's masterclass called How to Use Instagram, create a webinar, all right? And you don't even need a fancy title, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. I really appreciate you joining me. Here's what you're going to discover today. What must happen so that you have an awesome webinar, how to create a webinar so that you can convert to clients, how to design your webinar slides in a way that keeps people's attention. I'm just rattling this off. Why a simple tool is more important than fancy technology and $3,000 cameras. Why your webcam? Not hard, right? Okay. And then I go to the pain of the audience. Look, I bet you're a bit like me. You want to impact people, you want to speak to people, you want to share a message, but you don't want to get on a plane every single time to do it. You don't want to have to leave your family, leave your kids, hop on some cross-country trip just to speak to an audience. You want to impact people right where you are, in your house, in your boxer shorts, okay? And that's my humor, right? You don't have to say that, okay? And you want to do all this, but you feel like you're working way too hard with very little return when it comes to sharing your message. The real problem is that a lot of people think to share their message, they still have to do things the old way, okay? And that's why so many speakers and entrepreneurs spin their wheels without getting any traction, and they waste precious time and money. I mean, we're getting straight to the point here, okay? So, section 3 is where we talk about the story, okay? So, I've told you what the presentation is about. A brief introduction. My name is Mike Kim, and over the last 3 years, 5 years, I have hosted hundreds of webinars. And my specialty is in helping personal brands market themselves online. But I have a confession. I didn't always do webinars or leverage the power of online marketing, okay? And I thought while I was working my day job at this company, putting in 70 to 80 hours a week, that for me to ever impact more people than I could, that I would have to become a professional speaker and sign up with the NSA and pay them $37,000 for some speaking certification so they could get my message out there, right? I had no idea how to, what's the outcome? Impact more people with my message. Everything changed when I discovered webinars. And let me tell you about the first, and then I tell a story. Let me tell you about the story the first time I ever watched a webinar. Or I'll tell you this story, okay? Because we're talking about webinars. Everything changed when I understood the power of webinars. And actually, here's the story of my very first webinar. And this is a true story. back in 2013, I hosted a webinar because it was based on a blog post that went viral on my blog that has nothing to do with marketing. It had to do with a mutual friend of Nick and I. His name is Greg, and his wife's name is Kim. And Greg and Kim were working in a college religious ministry at the time. And these guys had no money at all. And Greg was my friend, and I wanted to send him some money. Like legitimately just, hey, can I just send you some money to support you guys? And he's, how do I do that? He's like, oh, well, you can just send a check. I was like, what's that? Like a check. I was like, a check? Like, you're like 22 years old. How do you even know what a check is? I don't own a checkbook. How else can I give you money online? He's like, well, you got to go to this website that's not ours. You got to go to this organization's website, and then you got to go on the 18th button down, click on it, then in the drop-down menu, pick New York State, and there, our names will be on the drop. I was like, good God, what am I doing? Like paying my taxes? This is so hard. And so I didn't give him any money. Like, honestly, it was too hard. I was like, I'll buy you guys dinner next time you're in Jersey. Literally, I didn't give him any money. And I felt bad about it, but, you know, I kind of quickly forgot about it because that's how people are, right? And there were so many obstacles for me to just simply give this dude some money that I wrote this blog post about how stupid this whole setup was, right? I was like, this is so dumb. Like, how about we set up some systems to make it easier for you guys to raise some money? I wrote this blog post and went viral, like legitimately viral. In fact, if you Google right now, missionaries raise support, my blog, my marketing and personal branding blog is #1 on the planet. That article is #1. Did I turn it into money? You better believe it. More on that later. Okay, I monetized it, right? But that blog went viral, and I had hundreds of people ask me, how can you teach us to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, this is not the demographic I necessarily wanted to serve, but sure. So I decided to host a webinar, but I was terrified. I thought my internet was going to cut out. I didn't know what to say. And it wasn't like a high-risk audience, but I just wanted to try this. I was like, what do I got to lose? This is not like my intended audience. They'll just be glad I showed up. I host a webinar, but like you guys, I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. So I did all the slides, and I recorded the webinar at my house, like the whole voiceover and everything, the whole 45 minutes. And I found this software that doesn't exist anymore that allows you to broadcast a recording as if it's a live webinar. And it just plays. And then you sit there in the chat box and pretend like you're answering the questions while you're presenting, but you're not really presenting. I launched the webinar. Hundreds of people sign up. I was like, what the heck? Like, my blog doesn't get this kind of attention. They sign up, they watch the webinar, but because it's being broadcast through this auto replay system, my computer has nothing to do with it. It just plays. My internet went dead. Like, literally the router froze at my house. I was like, oh my gosh, look at this. Resistance, right? Plugged it in, get the internet connection back up after 10 minutes. The webinar's still going. Everyone's still chatting in the thing. I'm like, hey, yeah, great. Sorry, I was really busy teaching that part. I missed your question here, whatever. Okay? And I had 15 people sign up with a grand old price of $150 a piece. Right? No, it was 10 people, $150 a piece. Now you guys know what I charge for this workshop, right? And what the workshop yesterday, that was $5,000, right? And so, like, that $1,500 changed my life. I was like, wait, I could pay the mortgage this month with this. What? And it completely changed my perspective of marketing because of a webinar. So that's a story. Now, that's a very long story, but if I'm doing this presentation, I can just share a very condensed version of the story. And then what you go into is the turning point. So if you've ever been nervous about running your first webinar or worried that your technology will go dead or your internet will cut out or you're going to flub it or say the wrong thing or sound super boring, I get it. And everything changed when I decided to hone my communication skills, even though I thought I had a lot, into this channel of presenting to a virtual audience rather than an in-person audience. And I decided to commit to delivering content, valuable content, in a way that was quick and easy and actionable. So, core content. Look, guys, I want to help you launch your first 5-figure webinar in less than 30 days. And you're going to learn some key principles right now. So let's get into title of the webinar, how to launch your first 5-figure webinar right now. Isn't that easy? So all of that, if I shared that, again, 3 minutes and we're into the content. But where people get stuck is the open. Now, what I don't want you to do today, because our brain is kind of fried anyway, I do not want you to do the title of the webinar and the outcomes. We're going to do all that tomorrow when our thinking is a little bit more fresh. Okay? What we're going to do is just fill in this story part. Okay? So I'm going to focus on this here, and you guys got this in your email. Okay? You didn't get it again? Okay. Don't use Hotmail. That's the lesson for today. They stopped serving that. Okay, I'll send it to you again. All right. So you have this in your email. Okay. I want you to pull this up really quickly. Okay. And you may not be sure what a webinar that you host is going to be about yet. We're going to talk about that a little bit tomorrow, but it's okay. What I want you to do is these 6 lines here: brief introduction, I have a confession, discuss a prior obstacle, I had no idea how to blank, and everything changed when blank. I want you to pull just one of your big ideas. I'm just going to practice this, okay? I'm going to practice this. So who has a webinar they're planning to host in the next, let's say, 45 days, next 2 months? Okay, Marshall, Michelle, anyone else? Okay, all right, anyone else? Okay, all right, yeah, we can get it now. Okay, who has no idea what they would present a webinar on right at this moment? Okay, okay, all right, so we're going to pick one of you guys. Vernon, you're up. All right, we're going to help you here because this is what's going to happen. Oh, I'm not doing a webinar in the next 45 days. I guess I don't really have to do this. And then you're not going to actually move forward in a way that's going to be meaningful to help you do this later. The last time I checked, anytime we think we're going to do something, we don't really act on it right away. Strengths Finders, you guys familiar with that test, right? So my Strengths Finders, the top 3, number 1, maximizer, which means I like to work with good things and make them great. I don't always like to start from the bottom. Number 2 is activator, which is GSD, get stuff done. Okay, I can use the rated R version, but you guys know what I mean. I just do things. I implement quickly. And third is intellection, which is strategic. So it is I am blessed with that combination, and it's also why I don't sleep. Because I'm like, we can maximize this, we do it tonight, and I can see how this is going to help us in 3 to 5 years. And it is a wonderful combination until you want to sleep, right? So the key to a lot of the success I've had is not because I create the best stuff, it's because I move at speed. Speed, they used to say go slow, but go careful, not in today's world, speed, right? We took out our phone 45 minutes ago, posted a video, and people are probably watching it right now. Speed, it's so fast. So we have to learn speed, okay? So one of the things that I do to force myself to do this, I'm gonna confess this now, is I make promises that I haven't thought through yet, and then have to figure out how to get it done. Okay? And what that does, because I know the way I work, this isn't for everybody, the way I work is that forces me to get it done. So we have videos that are sitting in my Dropbox right now, and I'm like, we need to sell these videos. So I have it, I told my assistant, all right, we're going to do a webinar as soon as I'm done with this workshop. What's the webinar on? Don't know yet. I'll figure it out after the workshop's done. I have a general idea, but I haven't worked out all the things, right? So speed. I am not for slow people, okay? If you're slow, but you're willing to be pushed and willing to, then I'm for you, okay? So we're gonna get done. So I picked somebody who's like got no idea what he would present on because I want to exercise this muscle, okay? So Vernon, give me one of your big ideas. You've been writing a few over there. I saw them. That's why, you know. So give me one of your big ideas.
One of my big ideas.
Yeah. All right. I'll just I won't waste any time here. Okay. So When an inch becomes a mile. All right, we're going to take this one. I have no idea what this means, but when an inch becomes a mile, right? Yep, that's what it says. When an inch becomes a mile. Okay, so what business is this for to build?
Build a coaching business.
Okay, coaching business. Okay, so when an inch becomes a mile, and the story would be what?
Taking action.
No, like which one of these went with an inch becomes a mile?
Which one?
You can come up here. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll join them.
Okay. Which one was an inch becomes a mile?
I think any of them. An inch becomes a mile.
Does that say new church and dancing?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm picking that one. All right. Okay. We're going to find out what this is. An inch becomes a mile. And, all right. Okay. Dancing comfort zone. All right. Okay. There we go. Okay. And let's just pick another one. I don't even know what this one is. All right. We're just moving quickly. Okay. So an inch becomes a mile. New church, dancing comfort zone, and who are you listening to and why? Okay, look, we got a message here, right? All right, so a brief introduction. My name is Vernon, founder of An Inch Becomes a Mile Coaching, or no, that's not a good name for a coaching business. Founder of Mile High Coaching, and my specialty is in helping you dance out of your comfort zone. Do you like to dance? Is this a thing?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. All right. I have no idea. This is how clear it is, right? So, okay. But I have a confession. I didn't always live such a what life. I used to, prior obstacle was what?
People pleasing.
Okay, but use this language. An inch becomes a mile.
When I didn't move forward.
Okay, no, I want you to say this in some way.
When an inch becomes a mile?
Right. So, but I have a confession. I used to allow an inch to become a mile. Is that kind of how you're wording this? So,
No.
okay, tell me a little bit more.
It's basically taking a step forward
Okay.
that turns quickly into.
Okay. So what you think is an inch is actually a mile.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Start again.
My name is a brief introduction. My name is Vernon Andrews, founder of Mile High Coaching. Over the past 5 years, I have been working on developing myself through John, and my specialty is helping you move forward. But I have a confession to make. I didn't always move forward because I always let other people define where I was going. I had no idea how to move forward. Everything changed when I began to grow and learn that an inch can quickly become a mile.
Take our money. Now, done. Now he goes into the turning point. Okay, let's try it. If you've ever been
nervous about stepping out of your comfort zone or worried that other people will think that you're stupid, I get it. Everything changed when I decided to begin dancing.
Okay, keep going.
I decided to commit to learning how to Lindy hop and swing dance. I want to help you move forward in just 30 days. And you're going to learn some key principles right now. So let's get into when an inch becomes a mile.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
We got all that on my mic? We got them, right? Okay, so when are you going to do this webinar?
In March.
Okay, you could probably do it faster. Yeah. Because you already got this knocked out.
January's the perfect time.
January's perfect.
Everybody
Yeah.
wants to
Yeah.
grow in
Yeah.
January.
And so you could see he paused a little bit when he was like, so everything changed when I started dancing. So he got a little hung up there because he didn't know if his webinar was going to be about teaching people how to dance. But he can tell a quick personal story there. Like everything changed when I started, this might sound crazy, dancing. And I had these other obstacles that I was facing. I had just transitioned out of maybe a church or something like that, or like I went into some new organization or job, and instead of hitting the thing head on to move past the obstacles that I looked at, actually the way through was around. And these skills that I learned from dancing, actually I thought they were stupid and they were just like filling my time. And I didn't think I was moving forward at all. I felt like I moved forward an inch. But then after I started dancing, I looked back and realized those things helped me learn these skills and gave me these mindset shifts that I actually moved forward by miles. That's good. We just started this 4.5 minutes ago, right? So, core content. Let's get into the title. Let's get into the Inch Becomes a Mile webinar right now. Step number 1. Read this for everybody. Just say step number 1 is.
Step number 1 is, who are you listening to and why?
Okay, Nick and I will just pull all 5 of those purple ones, and his webinar is right there. And you start, if some don't match the bucket on this theme, fine, we take them out. Let's just make this up for him. Okay. Oh, that's good. All right, that's good. That's good.
That's interesting, but I don't know if it'll fit.
Right here. All right. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Okay, all right. So I want to help you move forward in just 30 days, and you're going to learn some key principles right now. So let's get into the Inch Becomes a Mile content right now. There are 5 keys to moving forward. Key number 1 is?
Who are you listening to and why? Number 2 is the relationship you're going to have with yourself. Number 3 is it may never look like what you think. Number 4 is how to coach yourself. Number 5 is stepping into crucial conversations.
Jeez. Wow.
It's done. He's done. It's done. I mean, you could do this webinar next week. And the biggest hang-up he would have at this point is the close, which we'll talk about tomorrow, and just the technology. But he can use Zoom or Skype or any one of these things, and he's done. And now all he has to really worry about after he leaves tomorrow is fleshing these things out, right? So if we take who are you listening to and why, I'll just do 3. The biggest relationship you have with yourself, and it may never look like what you think. He just tells us a story of each of these things. Do you have a story of someone you listened to that was good or wasn't good? Give me a quick
example.
Yeah.
Just the critical people.
Okay, name one person. First name only.
On the spot, I don't know.
Yes, you do. You're trying to protect this or not say. Just give him a fake name.
Phil.
All right, Phil. Okay, story of Phil. Boom. Okay. How you listened to Phil, and it maybe wasn't good, or maybe it was good, right? Relationship with yourself. Give us a story where you had to really look at the relationship you have with yourself.
When I had to realize that I was my own worst critic.
Okay. Name a story or time that happened. Where did that happen, that realization?
The realization happened when I had was out on a date. I wouldn't have considered it a date, but I was having coffee, a date with a woman, and kept her in the Starbucks for 2 hours. We closed it down, and then an hour afterwards, and after she left, I began, my internal critics started going off, well, you could have done this better, you could have done this better, you should have done this better. And it was in that moment that I said, stop. There's no way I could ever have done it any differently than the way I did.
Where was that Starbucks? What city?
It was in Tulsa.
Okay, that's all. You don't need to know her name. Just Tulsa. Remember, specific enough to be believable, universal enough to be relevant, right? Dude. Okay, it may never look like what you think. Story. When did you realize that?
This. I
Okay.
mean, just all the circumstances that brought me here. I mean, that's a big overarching story.
Mm-hmm.
But where your growth, what you're doing in life,
Mm-hmm.
only has perspective when you've grown and you turn around and look back.
Okay. What are one of the things that happened in your life that caused you to look back and realize that's not what I thought it would be, but it caused me to grow?
Ask the question again.
Share an example, a story of something that happened in your life
Okay.
that you didn't think would be, you didn't expect, but would, yeah. He's gonna, yeah. What was that one? That's the story. What is that?
Well, yeah, that's the linchpin of my story.
Okay, what's that say?
It
Read.
says divorce.
Okay, I've been there. All right. So that's his story.
Did you hear what he said? I've been there.
Yeah, I've been there.
That's it.
Yeah. So we have just mapped out his entire core content in less than 10 minutes. Because you guys mapped this out already. Now it's just being, remember what I said, stories fit into the context of the marketing channel you're using. Now Vernon might say, well, what do I put on the slides? A picture of a generic Starbucks. What do I put on the other slide? Dancing shoes. What do I put? Phil? Put a picture of Dr. Phil. Right? You just have fun with this. But what it does is it combines imagery with his copy, with his words and his delivery. And it may never look like what you think. Maybe him in a tux on his original wedding day. Right? So he's got his content right there. And all he did was pick 3 photos. And that's it. He doesn't have to spell out every single word he's saying. Right? But this will keep people... This room is as quiet as a library. When we were pressing you on, like, share that. Because everyone started doing what? Leaning in. Right? Because this is what that does. So these and this is, quote unquote, for a soft market, a coaching thing, right? Let's throw it back up there for, right? So this is frameworks allow you to create with speed and then execute quickly. And this is so easy. This dude was sitting here. He's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to do a webinar. And now we just built it out for him. How do you feel? Are you like, holy crap?
Yeah.
Okay. Like in a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way. Right? Because we get so caught up in like, I don't market like Nick. I don't use social media like Lauren. I don't write like Jeff. I don't have a podcast like Mike. I don't do this. I don't do that. I don't do blah, 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 blah. And it's all there. It's all there. Okay? So we're going to play around with this tomorrow, but it's a very, very powerful thing to see that everything you need is probably already on those walls for you guys to take the next big step.